Welcome to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere with your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back to Everyday Entrepreneur Everywhere. This is Chris Parker, and I am having a conversation with Miguel Angel Rojas, who's coming in from Madrid in Spain. And Miguel and I are both part of, a few communities, at least the Open EXO, Exponential Organization community, and the Purpose Alliance community. And we will talk about that, I am sure, during this conversation. But before we get into those communities and topics, Miguel, can you share with us what is it that you do and why do you do what you do?
That's a very good and very important question indeed, Chris. Well, the things that I do is that this will be my how is that I'm dealing with technology, digital transformation and innovation, helping big corporation, mid-sized enterprise and startups to scale up and create additional impact on the world. Because one thing that I've seen before, and this is really related to my purpose, is that when we are talking about digital transformation, innovation, we are talking about technology, I think we are not really talking about these topics, but we are really talking about people, the people that are behind the scenes, the people who is managing the innovation, the people who are, managing, the different employees on a big corporation. So at the end, we are talking about people. So even if my motto is related to digital transformation, innovation, I think it's more related to people, the people that are behind the scenes, the people that are really making the decisions to move this world forward.
And why is this important to you? Like getting into digital transformation, exponential, the human condition for that, what attracts you to that kind of work?
Well, I think there are two reasons for that. The first one is that when you are getting older and older, somehow you value more the time that you have. So it's also very important to me to make sure that the new generations are inherit the world that we are living in a better shape than our previous generation. So for me, impact is very important. And second, the impact on me about the different people that I also talk or walk or have a project with around. So, I mean, these are the two things that I really consider that are very important. And I'm happy to continue this journey until the day I die.
And how do you do this? So I know a bit your profile that you do in addition to corporate activities. You also do workshops and speaking and some advisory. What type of organizations do you support?
Well, basically, is that most of my background, when we're talking about my historical professional background, came from big corporations mainly. So I started, working on, being a programmer, system administrator, and then I became project manager, business analyst, position related to architecture, enterprise architecture, IT strategy. So I went from pure technical stuff to something that is more related to business. So, all the positions that are like in the middle of that. So this is what my background was. But then I noticed I can tell you 5 years ago, I noticed that something was missing when I was working. So in order to have, the impact that I wanted in the world, corporate world is not the only world that are already out there. So there are small companies and big companies that are really, they want to have an impact on the world because they have very good ideas. And the reason they are not able to access most of the talent that are out there is that because some of the talent are being hired by big corporations. So one of the things that I decided to take a look into, it was to at least spend some time of my professional lives beside these 8 hours in a big corporation in order to help other people, in order to show that the skills that I have can help other people to achieve their dreams. We're talking about corporates, but also you mentioned about public speaking, how you are able to communicate, your message better to the audience. So how you should tweak your message in order for people to understand you better. So this is, kind of the stuff of I will say that it was a journey of self-discovery, because if I have to have a conversation with myself like 5 years ago, I'm pretty sure it won't be very difficult try to really know what I'm currently doing right now. So, but anyway, it's a journey of self-discovery. But maybe in 5 or 10 years, have creating startups or creating additional ideas. So, but the most important thing is that, first of all, I'm learning, and the second point, I really love working with different people that can provide me with different insights. So when people is always, usually tell me, okay, perhaps you are wrong. I say, okay, I'm wrong. Yeah, but perhaps I'm wrong. I really love this kind of feeling in which you say, okay, there is a new perspective of the things that I've been believing for the last 20 years. So this like a click in my mind. I really love it.
Well, I love it as well. I'm curious, Miguel, from a technical development background.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to hear this story. You're an award-winning speaker in Spain. So those two things oftentimes don't go together, meaning oftentimes developers are quite introverted and prefer not to get on stage. So how is it that you went from the keyboard to performing on stage and being an award-winning speaker?
Well, there's a story behind that. Is that I had a very good friend of mine that came from Colombia because he was working there for 5 years. And when he came to Madrid, we have a great conversation. He told me there was a public speaking clubs there in Colombia, and he went there, and they taught you how to present to another audience. And I say, I'm not really interested in that. I always doing presentation. And he replied to me is that we are not talking about PowerPoint. We are talking about, engagement, connection with your audience. So I decided to try. I started I think 6 years ago, something like that. The first 2 years, it was a mess. It was like, I felt over and over on a stage. So I got stuck. I didn't know which are the words that I have to memorize. I didn't know the techniques, but it made me stronger. So 3 or 4 years ago, this organization that is called Toastmaster, when you are a senior member, you can start to compete. You can start to compete all over the world with different people. So basically, you have to prepare a speech, get on a stage, and then try to compete and create engagement with the rest of the audience. And then there are judges that will score you, basically. So I was fortunate because I started my competition about public speaking 4 years ago. And then I began public speaking. I got the public speaking championship 2 years ago. So I really love it.
So how do they score a winning speech?
Well, there are different criteria. That's a good point. Well, there are different criteria. The first one is that they score how you express your emotion, if you are able to reach the audience. The second point, there are many points, okay? But just I'll tell you a few points. The structure of your speech, if it's clear, if you have only one idea and you are supporting your main idea with different ideas, how the beginning was, how the end was, the different volume of your voice, the tone of your voice, how you are making gesture with your hand, how you are moving on a stage. So there are different criteria in which they will basically score you. They add up every point, and then you will have a figure, and then you compare the figure with the other competitors. And if you are better than the other ones, you won. That's as simple as that.
Does the sense of competition make it more or less scary for you? Meaning, does that put the pressure on, or does it get you more focused, or how?
There is something that, but you have to live it, Chris, because I was scared when I have to speak in front of 500 people. Okay, and the reason I was scared is because we don't get used to that. We are not prepared for that. So for the first 2 years, you are prepared to that. Basically, is that you start to feel that the stress that you're feeling before going on stage is something that is normal. So you try to control that. And when you are on a stage, you are looking at the audience and just wait for 5 seconds. Just look at them and you say, okay, this is home. I know how it feels. And then you start communicating. This is what you learn. So it's not about the stress. It's about, because the stress is already been there. You'll not get rid of that. But because you have done it like hundreds of times, there's some times in which you say, yeah, I know how it goes. So of course I feel also nervous when I have to be on stage in front of many people. But, it's just the moment in which you have to go up through the stairs until the stage. Then I usually have like 5-second pause, start looking at the people, and then I start talking. And this is where I feel very good about it.
Love it. So we're going to talk about OpenEXO and Purpose Alliance very shortly, but are those some of the topics that you like to present about? So if you wanted to inspire or motivate or educate, corporates or startups around digital and exponential topics, what are the types of things that you would love to share from the stage?
There are things that I've already discovered when I have to talk to startups. The first thing is that it doesn't matter which framework you are using. The first thing that you have to know is to understand your customers, your startups, your corporation. So sometimes they say, okay, I'm really interested in knowing more about OpenEXO or Purpose Alliance. And you start talking to them and you discover that the problems that they are having are not really related with these frameworks. So what I usually do is try to create, first of all, a foundation of knowledge in which we are able to communicate under the same circumstances, we can say. And on top of that, if they want to scale, then we go to Purpose Alliance, we go to OpenEXO, we may go to other frameworks. But I think the most important thing is that I will try to use my public speaking skills in order to get additional information from the different customers, and then try to adapt the message in order for them to understand better the different frameworks. So, because most of the people say, okay, yeah, I love OpenEXO, I want to scale up, but perhaps they are not even ready to start up. I mean, perhaps they have to be more worried about the quality of the products that they delivered. Or perhaps they are not able to scale because they don't have enough people on board, or they don't have the right technology already in the data center or on the cloud. I mean, it depends. From my personal perspective, I will say that there is no perfect framework. So if we are talking about the scaling, yes, they are very good frameworks. If we are talking about quality, perhaps we can talk about Lean. When we are talking about adaptability, we can talk about agility, Agile, Scrum, XP, whatever you want to call it. But sometimes, because you already have experience in all these frameworks, you have to pick up specific pieces of information and try to combine all them in order to provide additional value to the customers. And then let's see how it works. But the first thing, understanding what really the issue is.
Let's jump into the EXO framework from OpenEXO, and people can, I think, find that at openexo.com. And there's actually a free foundation training there, so you can go much deeper into this. If you want a foundation certificate, I think there's a small certification fee now, but the knowledge is all there and free. And this is through that community and the Purpose Alliance that we've met. So can you, for people that might not know, can you explain very briefly what the EXO method is, or the canvas is, and why do you love it, or what does it do for you?
Yeah, well, when we're talking about OpenEXO, basically OpenEXO is a community that came from the long time ago from the Singularity University, from one of the most, I would say, successful books up there, which is called Exponential Organizations, created by Salim Ismail. So basically what he did was that he analyzed different startups or big companies, and he noticed there were like specific attributes that they leverage in order to scale up properly. So this is what it's all about. When we are talking about the OpenExo methodology, we are talking about specific attributes that you should focus on when you want to scale up your company, a specific framework with different sprints, with different deliverables that you have to meet. In order to get most of it, you will have to create a whole sprint for your company. But anyway, the most important thing is that there are tools out there, there are people, and there are processes. If you combine all them, you can apply this methodology, attributes, Canvas. You also mentioned tools, also like business model Canvas, or there are many other Canvas that will help you to really define what your business model is all about. So the good point about OpenExo is that it was a methodology that is not really talking about the startups. Indeed, when Salim talks about the startups, they say, startups are the small companies. When we're talking about exponential organization, they are different. They start like startups, but they increase the volume, the revenue very rapidly. So that's why the book is all about, the framework is all about. So try to extract the lesson learned from these companies and try to apply to startups in order to make the same journey as they did. This is what I think OpenExo is, and I really love it.
Yeah, me as well. And there's 2 books. There's Exponential Organizations. Version 2 is coming out soon. This is under development now by the community. And there's also Exponential Transformations, which describes the 10-week sprint that people can read there as well. So that's super cool. And how about Purpose Alliance? Because Purpose Alliance is it's a different thing. I think it evolved from part of the OpenExo community with Francisco, and Francisco has been on the podcast before, so I'll put a link back there. What does the Purpose Alliance mean to you, and what do you love about that?
I think there are 2. For me, the main reasoning between OpenExo and Purpose Alliance is OpenExo is more about events, methodology, advisory, all this kind of stuff. When we are talking about Purpose Alliance, it also leverages the OpenExo framework, but I think their main purpose is to create impact on the world. So it's like more doing instead of creating, instead of advisory, instead of creating new events. Purpose Alliance is more about doing something specific for the people. So it's really more related to the Singularity University motto that they use, but it's about doing. And the good thing about Purpose Alliance, and we already mentioned that before, is that Francisco and the people who create the methodology, I was one of them. Also, I provide feedback about that. Hopefully you did. Also, Chris, is that it tries to leverage not only OpenExo, but different methodologies. So in order to take care about the different aspects that you also have to take care, not only the OpenExo attributes, but taking into account things like revenue, finance, people, purpose. So things that are not really mentioned inside the OpenExo framework, but they're already up there. So the good point about the Purpose Alliance methodology, or Launchpad, as we call it, is that it tries to combine different knowledge in order to create a specific methodology to help people and startups to create an impact on the world. So perhaps they want to scale rapidly, then they will use more about the OpenExo framework, but this is more about impact, people. This is how I see the difference. I don't know if you have the same opinion, Parker.
Well, I think I totally agree. And Purpose Alliance has the Launchpad method, which is sort of a meta method if someone is looking to actually take practical steps to start and impactful. So that whereas OpenExo is a bit more abstract, that you can apply to different types of business models, but Purpose Alliance sort of makes it a bit more tangible, that if you're actually just starting something. Yeah, the thing that I love the most about Purpose Alliance is the global challenges, and I've participated and have been a mentor on these. And if people are interested, they can go to purposealliance.org. There's a big button on the top called Challenges, and in there it's basically these are hundreds of people all around the world, put into teams somewhat at random. Startups can join as well, to go through a structured 3-hour session to come up with ideas in order to solve a major problem. So we've had, future of education, future of unity around diversity, future of the planet. It started, based on a COVID response, I think back in March 2019, I guess, or I don't know.
like 2 years, 1 year and a half ago, something like that.
In Corona time, sorry, I'm losing the years here. But those are so incredible. They're free to join. You meet amazing people, come up with impactful ideas, and then some of the ideas, if they're I think all ideas have all teams have the possibility of doing a 3-month mentored launchpad work.
After that,
but basically, if you're inspired to keep going and actually make impact, then there's support for that as well. So, two very beautiful communities and meeting amazing people. So, Miguel, the part of your background that has prepared you to inspire, educate, support, corporates and startups is your travel, your curiosity, and you're going around the world to discover new things. So how has your those kind of experiences contributed to, I guess, your perspective and your message to corporates and startups?
Yeah, well, I think I have a small story here. It's going to be a short one, but when I was younger, I didn't like traveling. And the reason I didn't like traveling it was because I was so focused on knowing the different monuments, the different places, but I was not really worried about the people that live there. So I noticed that when I was like, I'm talking about, I was very, very young when I have to travel with my parents. Okay. So when I have the financial stability to go by my own, I discovered that there are many people out there. So we all believe that we are the center of the universe, but indeed we are not. And there are different perspectives. So what you consider is a major problem for me, it's not going to be even a problem, or they cannot describe that as a problem. If we are talking with someone that is in the capital of Nepal, for instance. I mean, it's just, that's different perspective. So, and I really love traveling to countries in which the culture is not really European, or it's not really related to, as a Western culture, we can say, So, because the perspective that you have when you try to learn different cultures is that your mind is open. Basically, it's open. You are open to new ideas. So, when your mind is becoming more open to new ideas, and we are talking about the personal stuff, when you have to talk about professional stuff, it's really the same. One of the things that I noticed is that the position that I'm holding right now in the corporation I'm working for, it didn't exist 5 years ago. So I wasn't prepared for that kind of position. So unless you are able to learn, to get yourself training, to meet new people and try to get more knowledge, things are not going to happen. So what I discovered is that when I usually get stuck, and the reason I get stuck is not because the company I work for, is because I have stopped learning somehow. So even it's a small thing, reading specific books about something that they are not even related to technology. I think it's something that will open your mind a lot. And when you discover that, the things that you know are like this, the things that you really know that you don't know are like this, but there are many things huge that you really don't know that you don't know. It's really amazing. So I don't know how much time I will be on this planet, but I try to learn as much as possible. I'll try to be happy with that, because I think this is really the only way.
So I'm curious, Miguel, I'm also an avid book reader. What is the most impactful book on your shelf behind you that has been most inspirational? That is your go-to recommendation book.
I have many books about that. I mean, I've read many good books across my life, because I usually read like between 20 and 30 books a year. But one book that I would really recommend is that, I got it here. Is that one. It's called Sapiens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard about it, but it's a very good book by Yuval Noah Harari. And the good point is that he tells the story of humanity from a different perspective, completely a different perspective. The reason why I started to read the book, I was really not very knowledgeable about history, about our history. I know history about Europe, but what about Asia? What about, New Zealand? What about, South America? Is that there was something that I was missing when I studied that. When I started to read the book, it was a opening experience, because basically is that it gives you additional perspective about the different beliefs that you are having right now, and they are based on things that happened in the past. So I would really recommend this book, not only to you, Chris, but the rest of the audience, because this is very, very, very good book. And there is also a very good point is that there are chapters, so you can stop one chapter and you can continue the next week. And even there is a relationship between the chapters, you can stop, because for people that are very busy, that are always complaining that I'm not able to read book because I am very busy, this is a book for them.
Love it. Sapiens. I've not read it. I think I own it. I think it's in my stack. I'll have to make it.
You have to read it.
Bring it up higher, and we'll also include the link to that on the show notes, as well as the other books we've spoken about. If people want to get in touch with you, by the time this podcast is published, your new website will be available. It's already available now, but it's growing. I think that's at transformation-architect.com.
Yes, that is.
And there's tabs on advisory research, keynote speaking, and coming soon workshops.
Yeah.
I'm curious what type of workshops are coming soon. I'm curious what can people expect coming in the near future from
Well,
Miguel?
that's true. The first idea I have is that I try to combine. Again, this is a combination. When we are talking about creation, most of the time we are talking about combination. Is that try to give the people the tools that they need in order to communicate their message properly. So I'm talking not only about public speaking, but how to make really presentation. Not only PowerPoints, but what kind of information should be on a slide, what kind of information you should give with your voice. So there are many tricks that are very easy. And I think people should take advantage of them, because one of the main problems that I've seen in this world is not really because we are having different opinions, which is right. Chris, you can have different opinions about many things. But if you are not able to communicate why these opinions are important to you, we are going to have a problem, mainly in the future. I'm talking about it's not really the right situation about the coronavirus and the pandemic and all this stuff, but we have discovered that, countries are not really coordinated. And this it was a global threat. So why we are able to sit every prime minister at a table talking about, war in less than 1 week, and when we're talking about health and we're talking about education, which I think they are most important topics, we are not able to even, call them among them. They're not calling each other. So they have specific things for their countries. So I think one of the main issues that we have, and it's related to education, is that we haven't known how to communicate properly ourselves. And communicate is not about conflict. It's about share your ideas and try to build your ideas on top of others. So if you are able to communicate your message properly without offending the rest of the people, even if you have, you can be Christian or you can be Buddhism, or it doesn't matter. You always have my respect, even if you have different beliefs. But the main point is that when you try to communicate in an offensive way, in something that will make people to be defensive against you, that's not the right way. So if I'm able to provide my small piece of knowledge about how people is able to communicate better to each other, I will be more than happy at this.
Love it. Last question related to that And for people can still find it at transformation-architect.com and under workshops, that'll come soon. What is your massive transformative purpose, which drives you loving helping people communicate? How would you describe your own MTP using the EXO terminology?
You're right about that. I don't have it yet, but as Felipe and Salim tell me, is that I have to work on that. The main point is that I am on the right path right now. So I have I'm pretty sure that it will come up. There will be one day in which I will get up and say, okay, this is my massive transformation purpose. So I really know which is the path that I have to go through, but I haven't articulated yet in a proper sentence.
Well, it sounds like that's what triggered me, because it sounded like you just did, meaning you said you would love it if you were able to help people articulate their message and communicate their message better. So that's why it sounded to me like an MTP statement that you just said.
You're right about that. Yeah,
so I was like,
right.
Hey, is that a thing, or am I reading into it here? So
no, that's good. Yeah, that's also good also. But I have to combine something with the, all the harder skills that I know, technology, innovation, and all this kind of stuff. So I have to combine both worlds into something that really makes sense. So it's not only about communicating the message, because I want to leverage all the, technical skills that I already have, all the experience in order to do that. So, and you already mentioned that at the beginning of that, is that when would you ask me about how a developer wants to get into public speaking. So, this is like, an idea that a lot of people have. It's like there are two different disciplines, but, I will try to combine all of them into one sentence that really makes sense for the people.
Well, yeah, I think mostly it should make sense for you. So my MTV, my purpose statement is to create more joy and meaning in the workplace through the disciplined pursuit of simplicity. Right. And that has evolved and continues to evolve. I think almost every year I refine it slightly because I'm learning and growing every moment, and also through moments like this. So it's so right on. Well, I look forward to when you have written down your first MTP, send it over, because I'd love to hear it. So
yeah, for sure. I have a temporal one on my webpage, but anyway, I will have to modify based on your ideas. I think they're very good. Thank you very much, Chris.
So everybody, on the show notes, we're going to have links to the Sapiens book. You can also click through to transformational exponential organization and exponential transformation. Also links to purposealliance.org and openexo.com. And of course, to Miguel's LinkedIn page and his new website, transformation-architect.com. So Miguel, thank you so much for joining. This has been delightful.
Thank you very much, Chris. I've been honored to be with you today.
Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player, and download the Simplicity Kit from ebullient.com.